Alright, so good morning and welcome back to this pretty cold November morning. It's Sunday, so that means it's long run day here, and yeah, doing 90 minutes moderate today, plus sort of a 20-minute bit of a pickup at the end. Yeah, I'm in a shoe today that I don't really wear all that often, despite having had 3 pairs of this, and that is the Vaporfly 3 from Nike. Now, over my 7 years of running, I've actually had about 10 pairs of the Vaporfly series, starting with the 4% all the way to the next percent 3 here. And I do have to say that over time, I just feel like this model has sort of regressed a bit. Like, you know, the V1 and the V2 was just so incredibly bouncy that you just couldn't really help but push it in that one. I mean, of course you can go fast in this, but I just find it doesn't really quite push you the same. Because I feel like what Nike has done with this model is essentially something that many brands have been doing with their super shoes. That is making them more safe in a way. And Adidas has done this as well with the Adios Pro 3, is they make the shoes more stable basically. And I'm not quite sure if Nike has changed the carbon plate in this or something, but I just find that the whole ride of this shoe feels less aggressive and less sort of propulsive than the past models. Yeah, what I find quite interesting and quite telling actually is if you look at the start lines of these big marathons, well, how many elites are actually using the Vaporfly 3? Well, it's not really that many. I mean, Nike sponsored athletes, they get to choose between the Alphafly and the Vaporfly, of course. And the ones who go for the Vaporfly, you actually see a surprising amount of V2s on feet, which is a shoe that's been out of production now for over 1.5 years. I mean, this is still a great shoe, don't get me wrong here. This is still fast and it's still bouncy, but it's just not the same as it was, and the whole experience of this shoe just feels a bit more tame and gentle in a way. So I found that over the years, and I'm not the only one who feels like this, Nike has definitely changed the formula of their ZoomX foam. This is, it just doesn't feel the same as the stuff we had back in the 4% and the next percent V1 days. I mean, obviously I can't really show you this at all, but this stuff feels kind of rubbery. Like back in the day, the next percent V1, it had this kind of surreal feeling of not even having a shoe underfoot, if that makes sense. You just had this crazy sort of squish and bounce feeling, and now this stuff just feels a bit more sort of dense and more substantial underfoot. This material definitely feels more stable, and also it feels more durable. I mean, if you've ever run in the 4%, well, that stuff, it basically just started chipping away almost immediately, so I do sort of understand the point of making a more durable foam, but I just feel like this new material is, well, not as fun, and what it comes down to is not as fast feeling as it was. Another area where Nike has sort of screwed up this model a bit is the outsole on this. For some reason, Nike has now decided to ditch the full coverage here and instead give us this pattern with these little holes in here. And I've had it quite often that I have little sort of pebbles stuck in here, and you just feel them underfoot while running, and you have to stop and pick them out, and it's just a bit annoying. Also, Nike has decided to go with this hole here to show off the carbon plate, which, yeah, maybe it saves 2 or 3 grams of weight, but ZoomX is a pretty light material, so it can't be all that much. And you just end up with rocks or pine cones or something stuck in there, and I just feel like it's, you know, it's something that we didn't really need in this model. This is an upper that just doesn't hug the foot as well as the Vaporweave. I mean, obviously this is super breathable and good job on that, Nike, but I don't know, maybe it's just a psychological thing, but you know, it's just not this kind of feeling of an upper that's made for racing in a way. So one aspect I do have to praise Nike for is that the Vaporfly 3, unlike the Adios Pro 3, has not gone up in weight. It is still the exact same 175 grams in my size 40 as the Vaporfly 1 and 2, so that's good. And this shoe remains one of the lighter super shoes on the market. Well, I do have to admit that I've had good runs in this, and I don't feel like this actually makes you any slower than the V1 or 2, just in terms of times. Yeah, but I just feel like this is not my top choice for racing anymore, and I would not pick this over the Vaporfly 2, or the Endorphin Elite, or the Adios Pro Evo. So I've got two pairs of Vaporfly 3 here, and this is the one I ran in today. This is done now 150k or something like that. And yeah, funny, just as I'm looking at this, I do have a little rock stuck in here. See, this is exactly what I was talking about. So yeah, just in terms of durability, I have found that the V2 and the V3 are pretty much the same, as they both do right around 600k until the outsole starts shredding off. And they both have this kind of sensation where the plate sort of loses a bit of stiffness over time. And yeah, the whole shoe just becomes a bit more flexible and slightly less aggressive feeling. But the foam, in all honesty, does not really change much for me. It's still pretty much the same kind of bounce sensation. So yeah, there's not really much of a difference between the Vaporfly 2 and the 3, just in terms of durability. And well, like I said, the Vaporfly 3 is still a really good shoe and definitely a viable option for racing, but it's basically what it comes down to, just not quite as good as the V2. And yeah, anyway, hope you found this somewhat useful, and like and subscribe, and see you on the next one.